The morning sun spilled golden light across the glass walls of Harrington and Company, a global technology company known for its intimidatingly modern headquarters. The revolving doors spun endlessly as sharply dressed employees streamed in, their ID badges flashing against tailored suits. The lobby floor gleamed like a mirror, reflecting ambition in every hurried step. For Jordan Miles, an eager 21-year-old intern, this was more than just a first day at work. It was the beginning of a dream. Jordan adjusted his tie nervously as he stood outside the building. The tie had been borrowed from his uncle, slightly too long, but it made him feel official. He had grown up in a small neighborhood where opportunities like this were rare. Being selected as one of only 5 summer interns was a big deal, not just for him, but for his entire family. His mother's words echoed in his head. "Remember, baby, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors." He didn't know just how prophetic those words would become. Inside the lobby, Jordan's eyes darted everywhere. A giant holographic screen floated above the reception desk, displaying company achievements, new product launches, and photos of executives smiling proudly. He clutched his folder against his chest and walked toward the reception area. "First day?" a security guard asked with a grin. "Yes, sir," Jordan replied. "Relax. You'll be fine. Just head over to the intern orientation room. Down that hall, 3rd door on the right." Jordan thanked him and followed the instructions. Along the way, he caught snippets of conversation. People talking about deadlines, a big upcoming product presentation, and something about the CEO doing rounds this week. The atmosphere buzzed with quiet intensity. In the orientation room, for other interns were already seated. 2 in crisp suits, one in a sleek dress, and another scrolling through his phone. They all looked like they had stepped out of business school brochures. Jordan straightened his jacket and took a seat. The HR manager, a woman named Ms. Fletcher, entered with a confident stride. She gave him the usual welcome speech. Company values culture, dress code, expectations. Then she added something that caught everyone's attention. "One more thing, Mr. Harrington. The CEO likes to make unannounced visits. He's observant. Just be yourselves, but remember, you never know who's watching." Nervous laughter filled the room. Jordan felt a little chill down his spine. He'd seen photos of Charles Harrington, the elusive CEO, a self-made billionaire, rarely giving interviews, rumored to be strict but fair. No one knew when he'd show up, and no one wanted to be caught unprepared. After orientation, the interns were assigned different areas of the building. Jordan was posted at the main lobby, shadowing a senior employee to learn the ropes of visitor check-ins and customer reception. It wasn't glamorous, but Jordan was happy. He liked meeting people, and more importantly, he was fluent in American Sign Language ASL. He had learned ASL from his neighbor, Ms. Lillian, who was deaf. She had taught him when he was 12, and they'd become close friends. Jordan never thought that skill would be useful at a tech company. As the day went on, he observed how the reception staff handled visitors. Most encounters were quick, badge printed, guest escorted, done. But near 3:15 p.m., something unusual happened. The revolving door spun slowly, and a middle-aged man entered the lobby. He wore a simple gray blazer, jeans, and sneakers, not the typical attire of high-profile clients. He carried no briefcase. No assistant followed him. He looked around the lobby, a little unsure. Jordan noticed a man approach the reception desk. One of the staff members greeted him brightly. "Good afternoon. Welcome to Harrington and Company. How can I help you?" The man smiled politely but did not speak. Instead, he made a series of quick hand gestures. The receptionist froze for a split second, then awkwardly said, I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand." The man tried again, gesturing more slowly. The receptionist glanced at her co-worker, both clearly confused. Jordan's heart raced. He recognized the gestures. The man was deaf. Without hesitating, Jordan stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said to his colleague. "I can help." He walked up to the man, smiled warmly, and began signing fluently. "Hello, my name is Jordan. How can I assist you today?" The man's face lit up in genuine surprise. His shoulders relaxed and his eyes softened. He signed back quickly. "Hello, Jordan. I'm here for a scheduled meeting, but I think I'm a bit early. I wasn't sure where to go." Jordan translated this to the receptionist, then turned back and signed. "No problem. I can help guide you. Do you have the name of the person you're meeting?" The man signed a name, Mr. Raymond. Jordan quickly checked the visitor list. There it was. Raymond, 3:30 p.m. meeting with CEO's office. Jordan escorted the man to the waiting area, making small talk in sign language the whole way. Other employees nearby stopped what they were doing to watch. It wasn't common to see such smooth communication in ASL in the corporate lobby. One employee whispered, "Wow, does he know sign language?" Another replied, "That's impressive for an intern." What Jordan didn't know was that a pair of sharp eyes was watching from the balcony above the lobby. Behind tinted glass, Charles Harrington himself observed the entire interaction. The CEO had been walking through the building quietly, wearing a simple cap and no entourage. It was part of a personal initiative. He occasionally posed as a visitor or observed employees without announcing himself. He wanted to see how people treated strangers, not just executives. He leaned on the railing, narrowing his eyes as he saw Jordan's hands moving gracefully in conversation. A small, almost imperceptible smile tugged at his lips. Back in the waiting area, Jordan and the man shared a laugh through signs. The man asked how Jordan learned ASL, and Jordan explained about his neighbor and his love for communication. The man seemed genuinely moved. Before leaving for his meeting, the man signed something that stayed with Jordan. People like you make the world easier for people like me. Thank you. Jordan felt his chest tighten with pride. He didn't do it for recognition. He just wanted to help. But he had no idea that this simple act of kindness was the beginning of something much bigger. As the man disappeared into the elevators, Jordan returned to the desk. His colleague patted him on the back. "That was awesome," she said. "Seriously, I've never seen anyone do that here." Jordan smiled shyly. "It's nothing, just something I know." But somewhere above, the CEO's assistant whispered to him in a quiet office, "Sir, should we proceed with a scheduled test?" Charles Harrington looked at the intern's file on his tablet. Jordan Miles, Intern, Customer Relations Department. He tapped his finger thoughtfully. "No," he said slowly. "Let's do something different this time." The following morning at Harrington and Company began with the usual rhythm. Employees tapping their badges, the hum of coffee machines, and the murmur of morning briefings echoing to the sleek marble-floored lobby. But for Jordan, it felt different. He arrived early, dressed a little sharper, his confidence boosted from yesterday's unexpected moment with the deaf visitor. He didn't tell anyone about it in detail, but the reception staff had been buzzing. Word had spread quickly. "Hey, that was you who signed with the guy yesterday, right?" One employee asked as they walked in. "Yeah," Jordan replied modestly. "Man, that was smooth. The whole lobby stopped to watch. You handled it like a pro." Jordan chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. It felt good to be acknowledged, but he didn't want to come off as arrogant. Deep down, though, there was a growing sense that he was meant to be here, not just as an intern, but as someone who could make a difference. Around mid-morning, Jordan received an unexpected task. His supervisor, Mr. Levin, approached him with a clipboard in hand. "Jordan, change of plans. I need you to assist with executive visitor coordination this afternoon," Levin said briskly. "Me?" Jordan asked, surprised. "Yes, one of our senior coordinators called in sick, and you've proven to be adaptable. You'll be stationed near the VIP lounge, assisting with escorting guests to the top-floor boardroom." Jordan nodded enthusiastically. "I'll do my best." "Good. And remember," Levin added with serious tone, "the CEO's office will have several important guests today. Keep your eyes open, stay respectful, and whatever you do, don't try to impress anyone. Just be yourself." Jordan took the advice to heart. By 1:45 p.m., Jordan stood near the VIP lounge, a polished area with plush seating, a grand piano, and a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The air smelled faintly of citrus and leather, and soft instrumental music played in the background. He was scanning a guest list on his tablet when the elevator doors slid open. It was the same man from yesterday, the deaf visitor in the gray blazer. But this time, he was dressed more formally. Crisp white shirt, navy blue jacket, and a subtle gold pin on his lapel. He carried himself with quiet confidence. Jordan's face lit up. He quickly walked over and began signing. "Hello again. It's great to see you." The man's eyes widened with pleasant surprise. He signed back warmly. "Jordan, I didn't expect to see you here again. Are you working in this section now?" "Just for today," Jordan replied through signs. "I'm helping with VIP guests." The man chuckled silently, then signed. "Good. I feel lucky then." Jordan smiled. There was something calming about communicating in sign language in such a busy, formal environment. It felt like the world slowed down for a moment. Just two people, no sound, but full understanding. While waiting for his scheduled meeting, the man gestured toward the panoramic window and signed. "Beautiful view." Jordan signed back. "Yes, I grew up far from this. First time I came here, I was amazed." The man nodded slowly, as if he understood not just the words, but the sentiment behind them. He then signed something unexpected. "You carry yourself with kindness. That's rare here." Jordan felt his cheeks warm. "Thank you," he signed. "I'm just trying to do my job." "No," the man signed with a knowing smile. "You're doing more than that." Jordan didn't fully understand what he meant, but the man's sincerity stuck with him. As they continued chatting silently, two senior executives entered the lounge. Both wore tailored suits and carried that unmistakable air of authority. One of them glanced at the deaf man, and then at Jordan, confused. Jordan," one of them said. "What's going on here?" Jordan straightened up. He's waiting for his appointment with the CEO's office. Sir, I'm just assisting him. The executive exchanged a quick glance with his colleague. All right, just make sure he's escorted upstairs when it's time. Yes, sir, Jordan replied. But as they walked away, Jordan caught a whisper between them. I didn't know we had a deaf investor coming in. Me neither. Interesting. Jordan filed that away mentally. Investor? That was new. Yesterday. He thought the man was just a visitor. But an investor meeting with the CEO? That meant he was important. At 2:15 p.m. sharp, Jordan received a ping on his tablet. VIP guest, Mr. Raymond. Proceed to boardroom level. He turned to the man and signed. It's time. I'll escort you upstairs. The man nodded, smiling appreciatively. They entered the elevator together. As the doors closed, there was a rare moment of quiet away from the hustle of the building. Jordan found himself curious. He signed casually. May I ask, are you an investor? The man tilted his head, amused. Something like that. He signed back. Let's just say I'm involved in important ways. Before Jordan could ask more, the elevator dinged, and the doors opened to reveal the top floor, an entirely different world. The top floor of Harrington and Company was like stepping into a luxury hotel suite. Soft carpets replaced marble floors, abstract paintings lined hallways, and every surface gleamed. Assistants moved quickly but silently, carrying tablets and folders. There was an air of quiet power. Jordan guided the man to a pair of large oak doors, the entrance to the boardroom. Just as he was about to leave, the man gently touched his arm to get his attention. He signed, Thank you, Jordan. Not just for today, for treating me like everyone else. Jordan replied sincerely, Of course, you are everyone else. The man's eyes softened with genuine emotion. He gave a subtle nod, almost fatherly, then walked into the boardroom. The heavy doors closed behind him with a muffled thud. Jordan returned to the lounge, but his mind was elsewhere. Something about the man intrigued him. He wasn't just another visitor. There was a quiet authority in the way he moved, a depth in the way he observed everything. And the way he looked at Jordan, it wasn't just gratitude. It was as if he saw potential. Meanwhile, inside the boardroom, senior executives took their places. At the head of the table sat Charles Harrington, the CEO himself. He rose from his chair as the deaf man entered. And then, something shocking happened. The man removed his gold lapel pin, placed it on the table, and signed something directly at Harrington. The CEO nodded a respectful, knowing nod. The executives looked confused. They whispered among themselves, trying to understand the exchange. Then Charles Harrington stood and addressed the room. Gentlemen, he said, before we begin, there's something I need to make clear. Yesterday, one of our interns did something extraordinary. He didn't know who I was, and yet he treated me with respect, kindness, and authenticity. The room went silent. Yes, Harrington continued with a slight smile. I was the deaf visitor yesterday. Gasps filled the boardroom. Some executives looked stunned. Others stared at each other, embarrassed they hadn't recognized their own CEO. Jordan Miles, Harrington said firmly, didn't hesitate for a second. He saw someone who needed help, not a title, not a status. And he acted. That's the kind of character this company needs. Back downstairs, Jordan had no idea his life was about to change. He was busy assisting another guest when his supervisor rushed toward him, slightly out of breath. Jordan, Mr. Levin exclaimed. CEO's office just called. They want to see you. Now. Jordan blinked. Me? Why? I don't know, Levin said nervously. Just go. And for heaven's sake, stand up straight. Jordan's heart pounded as he rode the elevator back up to the top floor, this time alone. He straightened his tie, wiped his sweaty palms on his slacks, and took a deep breath. He had no idea that the man he had kindly helped twice was the CEO himself, and that this meeting would alter his entire future. The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than usual. Jordan adjusted his tie nervously, his reflection staring back at him in the mirror-like walls. His mind raced through possibilities. Had he made a mistake? Did someone file a complaint? Or maybe was this about yesterday's sign language interaction? Calm down, Jordan, he told himself. Just be respectful, answer the questions, and don't panic. The elevator chimed softly as the doors slid open. A tall woman in a black suit, holding a tablet, stood waiting. Jordan Miles, she asked crisply. Yes, ma'am. Follow me. Her heels clicked against the soft carpet as they walked down the executive hallway, passing by glass offices and large paintings of past CEOs. Jordan felt the weight of every step. At the end of the corridor was a set of double doors, slightly ajar. The woman knocked lightly, then pushed the doors open. Mr. Harrington, this is Jordan Miles, she announced. Jordan froze in the doorway. The boardroom was enormous, with a long polished table, high-back chairs, and a panoramic view of the city that stretched for miles. Around the table sat several senior executives, all dressed immaculately. At the head of the table, Standing calmly was Charles Harrington, the CEO himself. But what made Jordan's breath catch wasn't just the presence of the CEO. It was a realization that the deaf visitor, Mr. Raymond, and the CEO were the same person. The man who had signed with him. The man he had guided. The man he'd treated like any other guest. He wasn't an investor or a visitor. He was the boss. Jordan's eyes widened. His throat went dry. For a moment, he couldn't move. Charles Harrington, no longer dressed in his casual disguise, wore a tailored navy suit and the same gold lapel pin he had placed on the table earlier. His hair was neatly combed back, and his presence filled the room effortlessly. But his eyes were kind, the same way they were when Jordan first signed with him. "Jordan," the CEO said, his voice warm but firm. "Come in." Jordan stepped forward hesitantly, clutching his hands behind his back. "Why, yes, sir." "Relax," Harrington said with a faint smile. "You're not in trouble." Quite the opposite. Murmurs rippled through the executives. Some of them were curious. Others clearly didn't understand why an intern had been summoned to the boardroom during a high-level meeting. The CEO gestured toward the seat beside him. "Have a seat, Jordan." Jordan obeyed, sitting at the edge of the chair like a student in front of a principal. His heart pounded in his ears. Harrington turned toward the executives. "Before we continue today's agenda, I want to share something important." He pressed a button on the table, and a large screen descended from the ceiling. A security camera video began to play. Footage from the lobby yesterday. There was Jordan stepping forward, greeting the deaf visitor in sign language, guiding him with patience and warmth. The room was silent as the video played. No music, no narration, just the raw footage of Jordan's genuine act. When the clip ended, Harrington folded his hands. "What you just saw," he said slowly, "wasn't staged. It wasn't instructed. It was real." He turned his gaze to Jordan. "Yesterday, I came into this building not as your CEO, but as a regular visitor. I wanted to see how people treat strangers. Do they ignore? Do they hesitate? Or do they step up?" Harrington's voice grew softer, but more powerful. Jordan didn't hesitate for a second. He didn't know who I was. He saw a person who needed help, and he acted, not for praise, not for a camera, but because it was the right thing to do. One of the executives spoke up, slightly skeptical. "Sir, with all due respect, are you saying this intern passed some kind of secret test?" Harrington turned to him sharply. "No, he didn't pass a test. He showed who he is when no one was watching, and that tells me more about his character than any resume." The room fell silent again. Jordan shifted in his chair, unsure if he should speak. Harrington stood and walked toward Jordan. His expression was calm, but there was a deep respect in his eyes. "I grew up watching people underestimate others based on their titles," he said. "I built this company on the belief that character comes first." Jordan reminded me of that yesterday. He extended his hand. Jordan stood quickly and shook it, trying to hide the slight tremor in his fingers. Then Harrington surprised everyone. "Jordan," he said clearly, "I would like you to continue your internship directly under my office for the remainder of the program. You will work closely with my executive team, not just a reception desk." Jordan's jaw nearly dropped. "Yes, sir, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Harrington replied with a grin. The executives exchanged murmurs again. It wasn't every day an intern got pulled into the CEO's inner circle. Some were impressed. A few seemed doubtful. But Harrington didn't care what they thought. He turned back to the table. "And let this be a lesson to all of us. Sometimes, the people who make the biggest impact aren't the loudest in the room. Sometimes, it's the intern who speaks with his hands, not his mouth." After the meeting, Harrington invited Jordan to his office, a massive, beautifully designed space filled with books, awards, and family photos. The view overlooked the entire city. For the first time, they sat down one-on-one without the boardroom pressure. Harrington leaned back in his chair. "You're probably wondering why I did all that." Jordan nodded honestly. "Yes, sir. I had no idea it was you. I just wanted to help." "That's exactly why it mattered," Harrington replied. "You treated me with dignity when you thought I was just another man. Most people here, even senior staff, freeze up or look around for someone else to step in. But you didn't." He paused, looking thoughtfully out the window. "Years ago, I had a mentor who taught me sign language. He said, when you learn someone's language, you don't just speak to their ears, you speak to their heart. Yesterday, you reminded me of that lesson." Jordan felt a lump in his throat. "I just did what anyone should do." Harrington smiled knowingly. "No, Jordan, not anyone does it. But you did." As Jordan left the CEO's office, the entire hallway felt different. People looked at him with curiosity, some even with newfound respect. His supervisor, Mr. Levin, was waiting anxiously by the elevator. "Well," Levin whispered as Jordan approached. Jordan broke into a wide, stunned smile. "I'm being transferred to the CEO's office." Levin's eyes widened. "You're kidding." "Nope. Well, kid, Levin said with a laugh, clapping him on the shoulder, I guess I should start taking orders from you now. That evening, Jordan walked home with a bounce in his step. The city lights seemed brighter. The air felt fresher. He called his mom the moment he stepped outside the building. Ma, he said, his voice trembling with excitement. You're not going to believe this. The CO, he was a deaf guy, and he promoted me. His mom gasped over the phone. Jordan Miles, you see? I told you. Kindness always finds its way back. Jordan smiled, looking up at the towering skyscraper behind him. He had started this internship thinking he was just a small part of a big machine. But now, the CEO himself had noticed him, not for his grades, not for his background, but for a single moment of compassion, and his journey had only just begun. The days following the big revelation felt almost surreal for Jordan Miles. He had walked into Harrington and Company as a nervous intern, uncertain of his place in a massive corporation. But now, he walked through the same halls with a new badge embossed with subtle gold emblem, indicating his assignment to the CEO's office. It wasn't just a promotion. It was a statement. People noticed. Some gave him nods of respect. Others whispered behind his back, wondering what exactly he had done to land such a rare opportunity. A few senior employees weren't thrilled. After all, many had worked for years to get even a fraction of that kind of attention. But Jordan stayed humble. He didn't gloat. He didn't strut. He simply focused on doing his best, just as he did on his very first day. His new role was demanding. He assisted the CEO's executive team with scheduling, data presentations, and sometimes even shadowed Charles Harrington himself during high-level meetings. The pace was faster, the stakes higher, and expectations through the roof. But Jordan was a quick learner. He absorbed everything like a sponge, from the way executives discussed strategy to how Charles interacted with people at every level. What stood out most was the CEO's ability to listen, not just talk. One afternoon, after a particularly intense board meeting, Charles called Jordan into his office. Jordan, he said, loosening his tie, how are you holding up? This is a lot to throw at someone. Jordan straightened his posture. I'm good, sir. I'm learning a lot. Charles chuckled. Good answer. But I want you to know you don't have to pretend. If something's overwhelming, tell me. You're not here to impress me. You're here to grow. Jordan nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and determination. Thank you, sir. I'll remember that. A few weeks later, Harrington and Company hosted its annual Innovation Showcase, a prestigious event where employees, from interns to senior engineers, presented new ideas that could shape the future of the company. This year, Charles decided to make the event special. Instead of it being closed-door, he invited clients, partners, and the media. The entire top floor was transformed into a sleek exhibition hall with interactive displays and product demos. Jordan had been helping coordinate the event behind the scenes. But on the morning of the showcase, Charles approached him unexpectedly. Jordan, he said, holding a tablet, I want you to open the event with a short welcome speech. Jordan's eyes widened. Me? Sir, You're not just anything, Charles interrupted firmly. You're a face of this company now. Your story represents what we stand for. People need to see that. Jordan hesitated. Speaking to a large crowd wasn't exactly his comfort zone. But then he remembered that moment in the lobby, the moment he simply acted without overthinking. He took a deep breath and nodded. I'll do it. Later that day, the hall was buzzing with executives, investors, reporters, and employees. Cameras flashed, journalists scribbled notes, and the company's holographic displays lit up the space with futuristic animations. Charles Harrington walked onto the stage first. The thunderous applause. He gave a brief introduction, then gestured toward Jordan, who stood just offstage, nervously adjusting his suit jacket. And now, Charles announced with a proud smile, I'd like to invite someone very special to open today's showcase. Someone who reminds us every day why integrity and kindness matter as much as innovation. Please welcome Jordan Miles. The applause grew louder. Jordan walked onto the stage, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. The bright lights momentarily blinded him, but then he saw something that calmed him. Charles, standing just offstage, giving him a reassuring nod. Jordan stepped up to the podium. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice was steady. Good afternoon, everyone. He began, My name is Jordan Miles. A few months ago, I walked into this building as a nervous intern on my first day. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have fancy connections. All I had was a tie that was too long, a lot of hope, and my mom's advice ringing in my ears. The smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors. A few people chuckled softly. The tension in the room eased. Jordan continued. On that first day, I met someone in the lobby. He was deaf. No one knew what to do. But I happened to know sign language, something I learned as a kid, and I stepped forward to help. I didn't know it then, but that person was our CEO. The audience gasped, some nodding knowingly. Cameras zoomed in. I didn't do it for attention. Jordan said. "I just saw someone who needed help, and that one moment changed my life." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. This company is full of brilliant people, cutting-edge ideas, and incredible technology. But at its heart, what truly matters are the people. How we treat each other, how we make each other feel. Sometimes, the most innovative thing we can do is simply be kind. The crowd erupted in applause. Some executives stood up. Charles clapped the loudest. That speech became one of the most replayed moments from the Innovation Showcase. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded with clips of the intern who greeted the CEO in sign language. Comments flooded in. This is what leadership looks like. More companies need people like Jordan. Kindness should be part of every job description. For Jordan, it wasn't fame he cherished. It was a realization that his actions had ripple effects far beyond that lobby moment. Months later, as the internship program came to an end, Jordan was called into Charles Harrington's office one last time. Charles leaned back in his chair, smiling warmly. "Jordan, I think you know why you're here." Jordan shook his head, nervous but curious. Charles slid a sleek black envelope across the desk. Inside was a full-time job offer, starting immediately after graduation, working directly in the CEO's strategic communications department. Jordan's eyes welled up. "Sir, I don't even know what to say." "Say yes." Charles replied with the same grin he gave him months earlier. Jordan laughed through his tears. "Yes." Charles stood and shook his hand firmly. "You earned this, Jordan. Not because you were perfect. Not because you impressed the board. But because you stayed true to who you are. Never lose that." On his last day as an intern, Jordan returned to the same lobby where it all began. The afternoon sun hit the glass just as it had that first day. He stood by the revolving doors for a moment, watching people come and go. One of the receptionists walked by and nudged him playfully. "Big boss now, huh?" Jordan laughed. "Not quite, just grateful." As he turned to leave, he saw something that made him stop. A young woman stood at the reception desk, nervously clutching her folder. A new intern, clearly overwhelmed. Jordan smiled. He walked over and said warmly, "First day?" She nodded nervously. "Yeah, I'm kind of lost." Jordan extended his hand. "Come on, I'll show you the way." Epilogue. In the years that followed, Jordan rose through the ranks of Harrington and Company. He became known not just for his skill, but for his leadership, the kind that inspired loyalty, respect, and humanity. The story of the intern and the deaf CO became part of the company's culture, retold to every new batch of employees as a reminder that greatness often begins with a single, genuine act. And whenever people asked Jordan how he got his start, he'd smile and say, "I just said hello," in a language that spoke to the heart.